Hello students, I welcome you to Time Classes. This is a special session in which we are going to discuss the English language section of IBPS RRB Clerk Office Assistant mains mock test we conducted recently. The empty number or the mock number, as you can see, is 2042062. I hope you have taken the test, and this discussion or such discussions will help you in further improving your scores in the language section. So let us get started. The directions for the first set of questions are here. The directions say read the following passage. So it is an RC set, and answer the questions and fill in the blanks as directed. Okay, so there seem to be fill in the blank questions as well, maybe one of the latest models. Okay, so some words and phrases are printed in bold to enable you to identify them quickly while answering questions related to them. So let us get started. Okay, so it's a mix of traditional and latest model. Bold words are also there and fill in the blank questions are also there. So let us read the passage and answer the questions as usual. Okay, so here we go. The much loved icon. Icon is something like an image, okay, or a model or even a statue kind of stuff. So the much loved icon of modern India. Okay, the deliciously witty. Witty means clever and funny. Okay, deliciously means tastily actually. So deliciously witty Amul girl turned 50 recently. Okay, so looks like the topic is the Amul girl. Okay, Amul girl is that famous doll-like girl. Okay, who is featured in Amul ads. Okay, they are quite popular. I am sure you came across an Amul girl ad at least once so far. So the topic seems to be Amul girl, and the first sentence tells us that Amul girl turned 50. Meaning it's been 50 years since Amul girl came on stage. Okay, since her inception, that is birth or introduction in 1966, this cheerful blue-haired little moppet is a doll-like girl, okay, doll-like child. Moppet in red polka dotted dress has wowed. Okay, what does wow mean? Impressed. Okay, has wowed the nation with her sometimes tongue-in-cheek. Okay, tongue-in-cheek are like humor that is slightly mischievous. When you playfully crack jokes at someone, or make fun of someone. Okay, a friend for example, that kind of humor is called tongue-in-cheek. It is slightly ironical in nature. Okay, it's like you are mischievously playing with your friend or someone. Okay, so there could be a lot of puns and such other things. So tongue-in-cheek, occasionally controversial and always enjoyable one-liners in billboard and print ads. Billboards are the hoardings. So usually the Amul girl ads are featured on hoardings and even in newspapers, rarely seen on TV. Okay, so each Amul ad comes with a one-liner. Okay, a caption or an interesting sentence that goes with the ad. Okay, and these one-liners, the author says, okay, are tongue-in-cheek, occasionally controversial, and also always enjoyable. So you will always enjoy them because they're humorous, but they're also sometimes controversial. Okay, so far the passage seems to be fairly simple actually. Okay, it's about Amul girl turning 50, and the author says since its inception, that is 1966. Okay, this moppet like girl, okay, has impressed everybody with her tongue-in-cheek, occasionally controversial, and always enjoyable one-liner or humor in the billboards. One of India's longest running ad campaigns. This is also probably the only ad campaign in the country with an unchanged theme and style for almost 50 years now. So it is one of the longest running ad campaigns. Okay, 50 plus years is really long, right? And it is also the only ad campaign according to the author, okay, with an unchanged theme. The theme has been the same. Okay, you get to see an Amul girl, and she says something in a single line which is humorous, okay, very enjoyable and sometimes controversial. Then the next para says, while the brand Amul was registered and started its work in 1957, the ad campaign started only in 66. Okay, so the author is now talking about the origin story of the ad. Okay, so the company actually started in 57, but the ad campaign itself started in 66. The Dakuna ad, okay, agency of Mumbai was given the responsibility of the brand's ad campaign by Dr. Verghese Kurian. I hope you know Verghese Kurian, one of the greatest, people, ever lived in India. He was He was the head of Amul and the father of India's White Revolution. Okay, I hope you know what White Revolution is given here. The world's biggest dairy development program. So basically, milk production, had a great, how should I say, metamorphosis, great change, positive change, of course, thanks to, Verghese Kurian. Okay, it happened in that, Gujarat city called Anand. Okay, so it started as a cooperative and it now become a big revolution. Okay, so it's called White Revolution. Okay, like green revolution is for crops, white revolution is for milk. Okay, so Mr. Verghese Kurian, gave the responsibility of the ad campaign to Dakuna Ad Agency. Okay, so that's the origin. Then the next para says, back then, advertising on television and print media was wildly expensive, and so Sylvester Dakuna, the founder chairman of Dakuna Communications, decided to design an Amul ad campaign for the more affordable outdoor hoardings. Okay, obviously, you see, even in those days, print and television media ads were very costly. Okay, because of that, the founder chairman of Dakuna Communications or ad agency decided to come up with an affordable means something that costs less, outdoor hoardings. Okay, so this was done maybe keeping in view their own finances, or maybe keeping in view Amul's finances. Okay, so the Amul Girl was created by Eustace Fernandez, the art director of Dakuna Communications, in 1966. And the same year, the simple yet catchy phrase "Utterly Butterly" was coined by Sylvester's wife, Nisha Dakuna. Okay, as I said, they are just telling us how it all started. Okay, so all Amul ads go with this catchphrase. Okay, utterly, butterly, delicious. I'm sure you know this again. Okay, so this catchphrase was coined, or was sort of invented by Sylvester's wife, Nisha Dakuna. Initially, the word butterly met with a lot of skepticism. Skepticism is doubt. Okay, doubt and opposition, because it was ungrammatical. Obviously, right? Butterly is not an English language word. Okay, it's a made up word. Butter is a noun. Adding ly, doesn't make it an adjective or even a, it's ungrammatical. Okay, saying utterly butterly is obviously an adverb. So what should we have here is adjective. But butterly is not an adjective. So that's the ungrammatical nature of this phrase. So because it was ungrammatical, a lot of opposition, skepticism was there. However, it worked superbly for the brand and soon became one of the most memorable taglines, in Indian advertising. Tagline is like a catchphrase, that goes with the ad every time. Okay, so you see, although it was received with skepticism initially, later on, people accepted it and it worked well. It is very popular, right? We know that. Further, the author says in 1966, Dakuna and Fernandez designed the mascots. Mascots means the icons. First public appearance on billboards. Okay, so that means Amul Girl appeared for the first time in 1966. Okay, so the mascot means Amul Girl, obviously. The cute image of Amul Girl kneeling in prayer with one eye closed and another eye on a pack of butter with the words, "Give us this day our daily bread with Amul butter." Okay, so you see, this is why the one-liners are very popular. Okay, they always play with a lot of things. Okay, so this was the first ad. The first one-liner with that was, "Give us this day our daily bread with Amul butter." Okay, the actual prayer that most Christian, most like in the entire Christian world, every night before they go to bed, they pray God. Okay, so this is what they usually say, so far as I know. Okay, what is that they say? Give us this day, our daily bread and butter. As you might know, bread and butter is like a staple food, okay, like a staple dish in British homes and in Christian homes. So this is the actual prayer, okay. Now what did the ad campaigners do? They added Amul, okay, to butter here, okay. So give us this day our daily bread with Amul butter, okay. So that's the play on the prayer. The original prayer was slightly tweaked to make it look very enjoyable and humorous, okay. And Amul girl was kneeling in prayer with one eye closed, okay, and another one on a pack of butter with words. So there was this butter pack, etc. So that's the funny nature of or humorous nature of Amul ads. So got an immediate positive response. So this ad obviously got a very greatly positive response from the public. However, okay, when however comes, something opposite comes. Dakuna soon realized that there was only so much one could say about food. Obviously, right? How much can you say about food? Okay, and there's a limitation there. So you have to be creative. So therefore, he decided to pitch the dairy brand's ad campaign differently. Okay, pitch means present, in a way that would instantly connect with the public. Okay, so what did he do? Next came the ad about the Kolkata Hartals. Hartals are protests of 1960s. Okay, bread without Amul. Okay, Cholbena, Cholbena. Cholbena is a Bengali statement, okay, used in the protests or hartals, which actually means will not do. So they were protesting against something, okay, in 60s, okay, and they used the slogan will not do, will not do. And what did Amul ad people do? They used that for their ad, bread without Amul. You see, bread without Amul butter, Cholbena, which means will not do. So it's a play again on, okay, some commonly known statement. Okay, now, okay, that happened to be a political statement. So you see, they started commenting commenting on political developments in the country, and the ad drew a smile from Bengalis across the country. So you see, by doing this kind of political play on latest events or recent events, okay, they were becoming more and more popular. That's what the author is trying to tell us. While Amul's topicals ads, topicals means topic based. What topic based? Recent topic based, latest event based. Topical ads were very popular. They also posed a challenge. Okay, so after talking about how Amul had developed, when it started, okay, what went into its subject matter, etc., the author is now talking about a challenge. What is the challenge they faced? They needed to be released quickly, or else they would lose much of their impact. Obviously, right? Okay, if they are making a comment on political development, okay, there's a certain time period during which time people will remember that development. Okay, during which time if the ad is presented or released, then it makes sense. People will relate to it and enjoy it, and Amul will become more and more popular. Okay, if that time period is gone and then the ad comes, obviously it won't make sense, because by then something else would have happened. People may have forgotten the previous event, etc. So to make an impact, such political commentary or such political comments in the ads should be released quickly. Okay, that's the challenge. Realizing that the protocol and logistics of approving and releasing an ad took a lot of time. What does that mean? It means they took a lot of time. There was some procedure. Okay, logistics were there for releasing the ad, etc., and it took a lot of time. So realizing this and considering the challenge of releasing it quickly, Verghese Kurian gave Dakuna Communications the freedom to run the campaign without waiting to take permission from the company. Okay, so you see, Mr. Verghese was really clever person. Okay, great person actually. So he gave they gave the agency the freedom to run the campaign without waiting to take permission. So he gave them liberty. Under Rahul, okay, Rahul must be one of the Dakuna family members. Under Rahul, the campaign increasingly commented on contemporary events in sports, politics, and films. So they continued to comment. Okay, increasingly continued to comment on political, sports, and film-related events. I remember even seeing an Amitabh Bachchan, comment in an Amul ad. So while most of their satirical messages were welcomed sportingly by popular figures and organizations, occasionally a few ads managed to ruffle feathers. So we understood the development, etc., and how, okay, Verghese Kurian, gave them full permission to go on their own. Okay, so they continued to comment on political developments. Now the author is going to another level. While their satirical message, satirical means sarcastic or ironical, humorous basically, were welcomed sportingly. Okay, sportingly in the sense people took them, in a humorous manner. Even if the comments were on them, they did not mind those because it was done in good faith, obviously, for the sake of humor. Okay, so many people took them sportingly, especially popular figures and organizations. However, occasionally a few ads managed to ruffle feathers. Ruffle feathers is an idiom. Ruffle feathers is an idiom. What does that mean? To annoy or to irritate a person. Okay, to cause trouble to a person, to make him angry. Okay, so it means Amul ads did cause some controversies. So let's see. The ad agency was served legal notices. Okay, so some of these controversies were severe or serious, and some of the people who were disturbed or annoyed by the ads, they even served legal notices several times, but they never gave in. The ad agency was served legal notices several times, but they never gave in. Gave in means they never succumbed to the pressure of legal notices. Means they continued to do what they were doing. Okay, they did not say okay, we'll change, etc. They didn't change. Always standing by their ads. Okay, because it's done in humor, for the sake of humor. Okay, so for instance, during prolonged airline strike, okay, the Amul ad said, Indian Airlines serves Amul better when it flies. Okay, so this I'm sure you remember. Okay, quite a few years ago, Indian Airlines employees were on strike, payment issues, etc. were there. There were also discussions about privatization and all that stuff. Okay, so during that time, okay, so Amul people grabbed that opportunity and released an ad which said Indian Airlines serves Amul butter when it flies. So this when it flies, okay, indirectly obviously was pointing to the the strike and the possibility that it will be delayed, etc. So they played on that political or the controversial issue, and obviously Indian Airlines would be angry, right? So they were angry. A furious airline demanded, okay, the immediate removal of the ad or threatened to stop serving Amul butter. Okay, so these people were angry obviously, and they demanded that the ad be removed immediately, and they also threatened to stop serving Amul butter. Okay, but the company didn't relent. You see how great these people are. So the Indian Airlines perhaps, or whichever airlines, obviously Indian Airlines, okay, they threatened that they'll stop serving Amul butter on their airlines if the ad is not removed. But then the company did not relent. Okay, relent means give in. Okay, they continued to have that kind of ad. Ads involving Jagmohan Dalmia, Suresh Kalmadi, Satyam Computers and Subrata Roy also resulted in the agency being served legal notices. So not just the Indian Airlines controversy, there were many other people, okay, Jagmohan Dalmia, Suresh Kalmadi, Satyam Computers and Subrata Roy also were annoyed, and they also served legal notices. Okay, so blank, the agency and Amul never relented, means never gave in. They never, succumbed to the pressure. They continued to do what they like to do. Okay, so I think that's the end of the passage, which means we basically have learned how the Amul ad started and all that, who started it, okay, how they who was involved in the coining of the term Atali, etc., who drew the picture, and then the challenges they faced and the kind of commentary they started, because you cannot have comments only about food forever. Okay, and how it created controversies. Okay, and how in spite of the controversy and pressure, the Amul ad campaigners or the ad agency never gave in. Okay, so that seems to be a very simple, straightforward passage, nothing very serious or difficult to understand. So let us now attack the questions. The first question says, the Amul girls one-liners, okay, in billboard and print ads have been described as, okay, so this description is given, if I remember right, in the first para. Okay, so the ads were called deliciously witty, They were also called sometimes tongue-in-cheek, occasionally controversial, and always enjoyable. Okay, so all these were, the descriptions given in the first para. Okay, anything will be correct. So deliciously witty, yes, it is there here. Okay, tongue-in-cheek, it is here. Occasionally controversial, again that is also there here. And enjoyable. Okay, looks like all of them are given here, which means the answer has to be all the above. So question number 121, the answer is 5, easy. 122, Dr. Verghese Kurian, head of Amul, is known as the father of India's what? Okay, again a very easy question is given here. Okay, Verghese Kurian, head of Amul and the father of India's white revolution. Very easy question again, which means the answer has to be 2, white revolution. 123 says the simple yet catchy phrase utterly butterly was invented by. Okay, that is given here. Okay, here it is. Utterly butterly was coined by Sylvester's wife, Nisha da Cunha. Okay, so it is Nisha da Cunha which is given here. So the answer has to be 3. So 123, 3 is the answer. 124, the Amul mascots, which means Amul girls, first public appearance on billboards was in the year if I remember right is given here, second para or maybe third or fourth para. In 1966, da Cunha Fernandez designed the mascot's first public appearance on billboards. The answer has to be 1966. So answer is 1. So 124, the correct answer is 1. 125 says Verghese Kurian gave da Cunha Communications the freedom to run the ad campaign without waiting to take permission from the company because. So why was the protocol, the long procedure stopped and direct permission was given to them? Okay, that's the reason. Okay, so here we have it. While Amul's topical ads were very popular, they also posed a challenge. What was the challenge? They needed to be released quickly or else they would lose much of their impact. So quickness was the need of the hour. Realizing that the protocol and logistics of approving and releasing an ad took a lot of time, Verghese Kurian gave da Cunha Communications the freedom to run. So realizing this, that it took a lot of time, okay, but it required to be sent quickly. That is why Verghese Kurian gave them full freedom. Okay, so where do we have that? Amul's topical ads were very popular. No, not the reason. The protocol and logistics of approving and releasing an ad took a lot of time. Yes, this is possible. 3 says the campaign increasingly commented on contemporary events in sports, politics and films. Okay, so what? This is not the reason. Most of their satirical messages were welcomed sportingly by popular figures and organizations. No again. So the answer has to be 2. So 125, the correct answer is obviously 2. With that we move to 126. Which of the following Amul ad invited anger? Okay, so the anger part, if you remember, was given here. Okay, so Furious Airline. Fury means angry. Okay, and angry airlines. So obviously the ad about Indian Airlines serving Amul butter when it flies. That was the ad that invited anger. And where do we have that? We have it in third choice. Indian Airlines serves Amul butter when it flies. So this was the ad that angered Indian Airlines. What about this? Give us this day our daily bread and butter. Daily bread with Amul butter. This was the first ad, right? It was actually popular. It did not invite any anger. And bread without Amul, cholbena. This is that Bengali hartal or protest related ad, which was received with smiles by Bengalis across the country. Is what the passage mentions. So it cannot be 2. So neither 1 nor 2. 3 is the correct answer, which means answer has to be 126, 3. 127 says ads involving which of the following resulted in Amul agency being served legal notices? Legal notices were discussed in the last para. Okay, so the ad agency was served legal notices several times, but they never gave in, always standing by their ads. And one example is Indian Airlines. And further, the last sentence says the ads involving Jagmohan Dalmia, Suresh Kalmadi, Satyam Computers and Subrato Roy also resulted in the agency being served legal notices. So these are the ads. Okay, these are the people and companies that led to that served legal notices on the ad agency. So the question is ads involving which of the following. So which means we can select any of them or all of them. Let's see. Jagmohan Dalmia mentioned. Okay, here it is. Suresh Kalmadi mentioned. Yes, here. Satyam Computers also mentioned here. And Subrat Roy is also mentioned here. Okay, which means the answer has to be all of the above. Again, easy question. 127, the answer is 5. We go to 128. Select the word which is the most similar in meaning to the word given in bold as used in the passage. As I said, icon actually means image, could also mean statue, etc. So we need to select accordingly. Image is given, so that should be the answer. A badge is symbolic thing that is worn on or dress, right? Okay, we represent which company, etc. That kind of badge. Note, stamp, token is again a symbolic thing. Okay, token is a symbolic thing. A symbol of something is called a token of something. So the answer has to be image. So 128, the answer is image. With that, we move to that's the answer actually, image, I'm sorry. So with that, we move to the next question, 129. Select the word which is the most opposite in meaning. Opposite in meaning to the word given in bold as used in the passage. So we are looking for opposite now. And the word is ruffle. Ruffle as used here meant what? Annoy. Annoy, irritate, or anger, to make some people angry. So ruffle actually means annoy or anger somebody. Okay, so this is its synonym. Upset is also its synonym. Disturb is negative word, so cannot be the opposite of a negative word. Bluster, okay, is to speak angrily. Okay, when you speak very angrily, you are blustering. Speak angrily, furiously, etc. is blustering. So the answer has to be appease, which is the only positive word. Appease actually means to please someone. To please someone, to soothe someone. Okay, someone who is angry and you are trying to calm them. That is what appeasing is. So 129, appease. 2 is the correct answer because ruffle is negative word. Okay, appease positive is the only correct answer. All the others are negative. 1 and 4 are exact synonyms of ruffle. We move to 130, which says fill in the blank based on the information in the passage. Choose your answer from the choices given. So this is related to 130 blank number 130. So what should go here? Computer Science, Subrata Roy, okay, also resulted in ad agency being served legal notices. Dash, the agency and Amul never relented. So some connection should be there. Let's see. Is it a logical connection or grammatical? But in all these cases, so looks like we are looking at a grammatical question, a grammar question, not a logical question. So let's look at grammar. Okay, this is singular, cases is plural, so mismatch. We should either say this case or we should say these cases. This case or these cases. We cannot say these cases. Okay, these plural, cases plural, this singular, case singular. Okay, but on all these cases, again there is a mismatch here. Okay, which means 1 and 2 both are wrong. What about 3? But in all these cases possible. Okay, 4 says but at all these cases, absurd. But at all these cases, again absurd. Okay, we are supposed to say but in all these cases. Okay, when it comes to cases, we say in these cases, not at these cases. So at is an inappropriate preposition, which makes 4 and 5 also wrong, which means the 130th question, the correct answer is 3. Okay, we move to the next set of questions. Let's see. Okay, it says in the given passage, there are blanks, each of which has been numbered. Against each blank, okay, 5 words are suggested, one of which fits the blank appropriately. Find the appropriate word in each case. So it seems to be a close test. Again, let's read it as we do and answer the questions. As you know or might remember, my method involves looking at the passage first, reading it as thoroughly as possible and understanding everything about it, and then based on clues, looking for answer ideas, using which we go to the options and decide the answers. Okay, so I'm sure you have attended one of my sessions. So this is it. Let's see. Just after 1 p.m. on July 31st, 2012, lights dash out across northern India. So looks like lights went out. Okay, so there, see, blackout is there. So it was the world's biggest ever blackout, affecting more than 600 million people, which means lights went out, lights were switched off, or maybe there was some power outage. So the clue that we have is went out. Okay, or went off basically. Okay, so switched off, or what should I say, power cut. All these are the clues that we can get for 131st blank. Let's read further. It was the world's first ever, biggest ever blackout, affecting more than 600 million people. Okay. It was also a dash blow to a transport system that had struggled to cope at the best of times. Now, why the author is bringing in transport system? Because transport system, at least some of the transport systems, depend on power. Okay, so it was also dash blow. Okay, it must have been a very big blow. So 132, the answer word should be similar in meaning to big blow. It was also a dash blow to transport system, because the power outage is there. Obviously, transport system will be negatively affected, and if it was the biggest ever blackout, then obviously it must have been a very big blow to the transport system as well. So that's the logic. Further, the author says hundreds of trains came to a halt in open country and in the tunnels of Delhi's underground railway. Okay, so all those trains that run on power, they came to a halt. Okay, must have been a very troublesome time. Some passengers had to wait for hours in sheer dash heat. Okay, so underground railway system is not very cool, right? So obviously some of these passengers had to wait for hours in sheer dash heat. Okay, sheer dash heat. What happens in heat? We sweat. Okay, so must be shirt soaking heat. Shirt soaking heat, or something similar to wet due to sweat. Okay, wet due to sweat. That is our clue. 5 years on, India's famously dash transport infrastructure is starting to look strong. 5 years on. So we are now talking about 2017. 5 years on, after 2012. 5 years later. So India's famously dash transport system or infrastructure is starting to look strong. Okay, so this is a description of the transport infrastructure, and the fact that the author says it is starting to look strong, it means earlier it was not so strong. So the word that we have for 134 is weak. Makes sense? So India's famously weak transport infrastructure is starting to look strong. The power on which parts of it depend has also become far more dash. Okay. So apart from the transport system itself being strong, the power on which parts of it depend, parts of the transport system depend, has also become more, positive, right? So what kind of positivity we can, use here, express here to talk about the, power system which must have improved, maybe dependable. Okay, more dependable, right? So earlier they were not dependable. You see, there was a power outage and the entire transport system came to a halt. So now it must have become more dependable. The dash system-wide collapse of 2012. Okay, the dash system-wide collapse. So this is a description of the system-wide collapses of 2012, which means for 136 we require a negative word. Okay, so the dash system-wide collapses of 2012 and an earlier one, in 2001, are now scarcely dash. Okay, so at that time they were happening quite a lot of times. You see collapses in 2012 and an earlier one in 2001, which means it was quite common. So now they are scarcely dash, scarcely happening, obviously. Now they are scarcely happening. So the word that we need for the 137 blank is happening. Something similar to happening. A rush to expand the electricity supply has been so successful that analysts now warn of a dash excess of generating capacity. Okay, interesting. So rush to expand the electricity supply. So after that power outage problem, which was very severe, there was a great rush to expand the electricity supply. Okay, and it has been so successful, the rush to expand it was so successful that analysts now warn of a dash excess of power. Okay, so again, some word that suitably describes excess of generating capacity, power generating, which means we are likely to have excess of power, which itself could be a problem, right? Okay, so 138, something suitable to describe excess. So we have the para very clearly laid out here. Okay, just after 1 p.m. on July 31st, 2012, lights, okay, went out across the northern India. It was the world's biggest ever blackout, affecting more than 600 million people. It was also a big blow to transport system that has struggled to cope at the best of times. Hundreds of trains came to a halt, okay, in the open country, and in the tunnels of Delhi's underground railway, some passengers had to wait for hours in shirt, soaked with sweat, heat. Okay, 5 years on, India's famously weak transport system infrastructure is starting to look strong. The power on which parts of it depended has also become far more dependable. The dash system, the negative system-wide collapses, maybe frequent or common, something like that. We can think of such a word, frequent, common. Okay, system-wide collapses of 2012 and an earlier one in 2001 are now scarcely happening. A rush to expand the electricity supply has been so successful that the analysts now warn of an excess. Again, some suitable word to describe excess. So fairly straightforward paragraph. Let us look at the questions now. Okay, question number 131 is here. Okay, what is the clue that we have? Okay, the lights went out. Okay, the lights were switched off, or the lights got switched off rather. So just after 1 p.m. on July 31st, lights dash out. Okay, wink. Wink actually means to close your, close one of your eyes quickly and open it. Okay, shut and open it in order to indicate some, joke or secret or something like that. That is winking. Okay, blight. Okay, blight actually means, damage. Okay, blighted means damaged. Okay, something that got blighted means something that completely got damaged. Okay, destroyed. Okay, blight means to destroy. Okay, so dealt means to deal with something. Okay, past form of deal. Blinked. Okay, to shut both the eyes and open them. Okay, blocked. You know what blocked means. So we can't say winked out because one eye shutting and closing doesn't make sense. Damaged out, dealt out doesn't make sense. Blocked out also has no sense at all. So the only possibility is blinked out. Okay, blinked out means, okay, shut your eyes for a certain period of time and then open. So figuratively speaking, when the lights blink out, it means there's a power outage. Okay, all the lights go off and then come back again. So maybe brief, okay, but still it's okay. Okay, because that's the only option that we have. Okay, so blink out is the answer to 131st question. Blinked out. Let's look at the next. What is that we have for the next here? It was also a dash blow to a transport system. So this biggest ever blackout had also had a great impact on the transport system, which was already struggling, during that time, and hundreds of trains came to a halt, etc. So what kind of blow did we think it should be? Okay, big blow. Okay, we are looking at something big and severe. Okay, something big and severe blow. So let's see. Clinging blow. Cling means to stick to something, to get attached to something. Okay, doesn't make sense. Thumping means great. Okay, thumping means great. Something that happens to a great extent. But it is usually used in a positive context, like thumping victory. Okay, thumping, support, for example. Thumping, results, for instance. Reverberating means, resonating or vibrating. Okay, it doesn't make sense. Singeing can mean severe. Okay, singeing actually literally means burning. Okay, so if you say singeing blow, it literally means burning blow, which could mean in a context, in a figurative sense, a very severe blow. Okay, so 4 is possible. Swinging doesn't make sense at all. So 132nd, the answer has to be 4, singeing. That's the only one that makes sense. I hope you got it. Singe literally means to burn. Okay, singe literally means to burn, especially the surface, part of something. So singeing means burning. Okay, singeing blow in a context can only mean severe blow. Okay, because the other words don't make any sense. The only option that we are left with is singeing. Okay, so the answer has to be singeing. Now, some of you who thought thumping is an answer, remember thumping is like usually used in a positive manner. Thumping victory, thumping support, thumping this and thumping that. Okay, so thumping, an adjective can only mean positive. Okay, not negative. So we require big of course, but severe. Okay, so while thumping and thumping is also something that means to a great extent, it is usually used in positive sense. So we can't go with that. So 132, the answer has to be 4. 133, what kind of clue did we have for that? I think it was easy. Some passengers had to wait for hours in shirt dash heat. Okay, so obviously shirts which were wet with sweat. That's what was the clue, right? So let's see, driving heat, drenching possible. Drenching means completely wet. Okay, drenching means completely wet. Okay, something that has got completely wet. So possible. Drooling. Now drooling is the how should I say, flowing of saliva from the mouth of a child or a person, okay, without his intention. Okay, so it happens usually in the case of children. Okay, they are not so conscious, right? So they drool. Okay, so the coming out of saliva from the mouth. Drooping means bending or hanging. Draining, you know what it means, flowing. So the only word that possibly, correctly can describe, this shirt, okay, heat, etc. is drenching. Okay, they must be in the underground railway, and obviously it must be very hot. They must be, soaking wet with sweat. So answer is 2. So 133, 2. With that, we move to 134. What was our clue? 5 years on, India's famously dash transport infrastructure is starting to look strong. If you remember, I told you, okay, the word here should be in contrast with the word here. So which means we are looking at something similar to weak. India's famously weak transport system is starting to look strong. That makes sense, right? So let's see. 134, creaky. Creaky means something that is damaged, okay, or improper, okay, and therefore can mean weak. Creaky system means like weak system, something that is not functioning completely correctly. So this is possible. Leaky is unrelated to the context. Leaky means something that leaks, like leaking, roof for instance, leaking taps for instance. Sneaky means secretive, okay, like a thief. Okay, see, sneaky means like a thief. Okay, very secretive, furtive, etc. So that again is out of context. Cheeky means mischievous. Okay, when you crack a joke at your friend, which is slightly insulting actually, but because you are a friend, he would not mind it. That kind of mischievous, okay, insult or mockery or making fun of your friends could be described as cheeky. Okay, finicky means fussy. Okay, some people are very fussy, right? They are particular about everything. Everything has to be in proper order. That kind of extremely fussy person is called finicky. Okay, so none of the others are related to the context, which means the only word that makes sense, okay, to describe the transport system negatively is creaky. So the question, blank number 134, the correct answer has to be 1, creaky. We go to the next blank. What do we have here? Okay, the power on which parts of it depend has also become far more dash. So we are talking about post scenario where improvements were made, etc. Okay, so the power on which the transport system depended, okay, also became more dependable is what we thought, right? Dependable, that's what we thought. So let's see, trustworthy is not the same as dependable. Okay, it's someone who can be trusted. Okay, someone who can be trusted is trustworthy. Someone who can be depended upon is dependable. Okay, so both are slightly different. Okay, worthwhile is something that is worth your time. Okay, reliable is exact synonym of dependable. So answer has to be 3. Shaky is a negative word. Okay, something that shakes. Integrated means combined, doesn't make sense. So the answer has to be 3. 135, the correct answer therefore is 3. Okay, so we go to 136. Okay, the what were we looking at here? The dash system-wide collapses of 2012. Some negative word is what we thought. Okay, so let's see. Unfailing is not a negative word, it's actually positive. Unfailing means never failing. Something that does not fail is unfailing. So positive. Okay, relentless means continuous. Again positive, right, in the context of power. Okay, possible. Okay, why we are talking about system-wide collapses of 2012 and an earlier one. So continuous. Okay, now the only point is, should we say continuous or continual? Okay, what is the difference between continuous and continual? Okay, continuous means continuous without any breaks. Continual means, okay, continuous with breaks. Okay, like, okay, let us say the power cut started on, let us say, 10th March and it went on without any, let us say relief, okay, till the end of March. That is continuous. But let us say another scenario, power cut started on 10th March, okay, the power came back on 11th March, okay, again it went, there was a power cut again on 15th March, okay, again it came back on 16th, like that. Okay, that kind of thing, thing is called continual. Okay, continuous with breaks is continual. Continuous means continuous without any breaks. So, okay, now the passage does not suggest that it was continuous. Okay, it was later, restored, right? The power was restored, which means relentless is a little bit, tricky. Inevitable actually means unavoidable. Okay, why is it unavoidable? On what basis can we say it was unavoidable? We don't know. So we cannot, go with inevitable. Repetitive, again, like relentless, is not very, clear. Repetitive. Okay, the only two repetitions we have is collapses in 2012 and earlier one in 2001. That does not mean it was repetitive. Okay, so, okay, and the fact that it was the biggest ever blackout, etc., indicates that it was not like repetitive. Okay, then embarrassing possible. This is the strongest of all the words. Even if you consider continuous and repetitive, they are not as strong as embarrassing. Okay, because power cut at such a large scale, okay, is must be a little bit, uncomfortable. Okay, something that may have humiliated or made them feel, insulted, the power, important people involved in this. So I go with 5. Okay, 136, the correct answer has to be 5. Embarrassing. Okay, something that is uncomfortable and humiliating. Then we go to next blank, 137. Okay, so they were very common, etc. during those days. Okay, are now scarcely dash. The clue word that we thought of is happening. They are now scarcely happening, which means they are not happening much. Okay, scarcely probable. That is a little bit, tricky word. Probable means possible. Scarcely possible. Okay, still suggests that it is possible. Okay, so we'll put a question mark here. Inescapable means something that cannot escape. Out of context. Conceivable means imaginable. So when I say scarcely imaginable, when I say scarcely imaginable, I mean to say scarcely happening. Okay, they are not likely to happen. So this is possible. Okay, and definitely better than probable. Enviable means worth, feeling jealous about. No context. Insufferable means intolerable. Again, no context. So we go to 138. Sorry, the answer has to be conceivable. I hope you got it. Scarcely imaginable means not likely to happen these days. Last question, last blank. What did we think of? Rush to expand the electricity supply has been so successful that analysts now warn of a dash excess of generating capacity, which means, okay, there has been so much improvement in power generation that there is likely to be excess, which I told you is not a good thing. Okay, so gathering excess, no sense. Summoning excess, no sense. Summon means call someone. Looming excess, yes. Looming means, okay, something dangerous that is about to happen is said to be looming. Okay, something dangerous or bad about to happen is said to be looming. So looming is possible. Nearing and veering, no sense at all. Veer is, when you turn this way or that, while driving, it's called veering. So the answer has to be 3. Okay, 138. The best answer is 3. With which we now move to the next question. What does this say? Rearrange the following sentences, 6 sentences, A, B, C, D, E, F, in a proper sequence to form a meaningful paragraph. Then answer the questions given below. So we are looking at para jumble question. Okay. So like the others, I hope it is also easy. So let's do the usual stuff. Okay. I hope you know the method. The method that we usually follow is, okay, read all the sentences first and understand the topic, context, etc. Then look for an independent sentence, okay, which is likely to start the para, and then look for connectives, the connections among sentences, using which you finally, finalize the, order of these sentences, like, logical reasoning puzzle, okay, like a puzzle, okay. So remember this. Let's read all the sentences first. A says, even Queen Victoria donated for the venture. Which venture are we talking about? We don't know. Okay, donation, which means she must have, Queen Victoria must have given money for a trial run. Trial run of what? Particularly intrepid. Intrepid means fearless members scaled. Scaled means climbed the mountain every day for 4 months. So trial run of what? We don't know. And so began a remarkable means great, experiment in Victorian Stoicism. Okay, Stoicism is a philosophical, thought or philosophy actually, in which you don't get too excited or too unhappy about things. Okay, it's a very big thing, much bigger than what I said, but that's a simple definition. And scientific endeavor. Okay, so Victorians, they are like calm going people, right? So they are Stoics basically. That's what this indicates. And we are talking about Victorian. Victorian is an age in England, okay, during the reign of Queen Victoria. So, and scientific endeavor. So indicates that this cannot begin, obviously. So all these 3 sentences seem to indicate some venture, some experiment. What it is, we still don't know. D says funding to build the station, okay, some station, okay, and obtain the instruments was raised. Okay, so funding, we see a connection at least. Okay, what connection do we see? With A. Okay, this talks about donation. So funding to build the station and obtain the instruments was raised through a kind of 19th century crowdfunding initiative. Crowdfunding is like, asking people in general to, donate money. Crowdfunding initiative. So we still don't know what station we are talking about. E says the Scottish Meteorological Society decided to build a weather station at the top of Ben Nevis. Okay, so this is the thing. Okay, they decided to build what? A weather station. Okay, the meteorological department or society decided to build a what? Weather station. So this we now know is the context. So the context is that of building a weather station. F says he went through. He must be this guy. Particularly intrepid member. Intrepid means fearless. So this must be the guy. So he went through blizzards, gales. Blizzards are like snowstorms, gales and heavy storms to record measurements at the summit. So Ben Nevis must be a mountain. Summit is mentioned here. Scale the mountain is mentioned here. Okay, so we now know the context. What is the context? The context is that of building a weather station on a mountain called Ben Nevis. And okay, one connection we already see, and that connection is this particular, for a trial run, one particularly intrepid member scaled the mountain every day for 4 months and he went through blizzards. So we know, okay, E is providing us the context, so E should start. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 places are there. So E should start, that's for sure. And we already see one connection between B and F. Okay, so B should come first. Okay, for a trial run, one particularly intrepid, fearless member scaled the mountain every day for 4 months. Okay, F says he went through blizzards, gales and heavy storms to record measurements at the summit. So F should come here. Okay, so BF is one definite connection. And then, okay, we have another context, another connection, that is that of donation. Okay, D says funding to build the station and obtain the instruments was raised through a kind of 19th century crowdfunding initiative. Even Queen Victoria donated for the venture. So the word even comes later. Crowdfunding initiative comes first, which means DA is another crucial link. What about C? C says, and so began a remarkable experiment in Victorian stoicism and scientific endeavor. Obviously, C concludes the discussion, so C should come here. Now the question is, okay, BF should come first or DA should come first? Okay, so obviously, they decide to build a weather station, and for a trial run, this trial run thing should come immediately after the decision to build the weather station. Okay, which means it makes sense for us to have BF in the beginning and DA later. Okay, because if you put DA first and BF later, it may look a little bit odd, because then you will have to say, okay, after saying even Queen Victoria donated for the venture, after saying that you will have to say for a trial run one particularly interpret. That doesn't make sense. So I hope you got the point. Okay, if you put DA first, then B has to come after A. This AB seems to be a little bit odd. Okay, while FD is okay. So after saying that, this guy, went to the summit and measured, etc. Okay, the venture was, crowd funded, and even Victoria, gave funds. So it makes sense for us to go with EBF DAC. EBF DAC. So that's our final answer, EBF DAC. This is not the correct answer. Some of you who thought DABF, is also sensible. The problem is with AB. A and B cannot come together, while FD can come together. So the final answer is EBF DAC. Okay. With that, we go to the questions. Okay, EBF DAC. That's our answer. So let's see what this question says. Which of the following should be the fifth sentence after the rearrangement? Fifth sentence is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. A. So the answer is 4. 139, the answer is 4. And we go to 40. Which of the following should be the first sentence? What was our answer? EBF. Okay, first sentence is obviously E. So 5. 141 says, which of the following should be the second sentence? Okay, EB, right? So B has to be the answer. 142 says, which of the following should be the third sentence? EBF, right? So F is the third sentence, so 4 is the answer. 143 says, which of the following should be the fourth sentence? EBF. Okay, DAC, right? So answer has to be D, which means 1. Quite easy there. So most of the questions are easy. Let's go to the next set. Each of the sentences given below has one blank. Select the word for the blank which best fits the meaning of the sentence. So fill in the blank question. So here we go. Kim Jong-il and his father Tu Sung favored trains to flights. So they went in trains instead of flights. Why? When visiting China or Russia. Why? Because, often attributed to. Attributed to means because of a reported dash of heights. So who would not fly, and who would likely, go in trains? A person who has dash of heights. What is that? Fear, obviously. So love of heights doesn't make sense. Fond of heights is the same as love of heights. Liking for is usually the correct prepositional combination. Even otherwise, liking is positive, so wrong. Case of flights, wrong. So answer has to be fear of flights. Okay, fear of heights, sorry. Okay, so Kim Jong-il and his father Kim Tu Sung favored trains to flights when visiting China and Russia, often attributed to a reported fear of heights. 145. Their leader took up the challenge because he felt that it was wrong for black people to have to accept dash citizenship in their own country. So looks like the context is that of US. Okay, so what's a first class citizen? First class citizen is the, someone who is, who is treated, how should I say, okay, more importantly than the others, by a country. Like in the US, for example, white supremacy is common, and whites are treated, more importantly than, let us say, the blacks. Okay, so someone who is treated, less importantly like that is referred to as second class citizen. Okay, less favored citizen. So obviously, we are talking about black people and why they should accept that citizenship in their own country. So obviously blacks, do belong to the US. So second class is the only correct answer. So their leader took up the challenge because he felt that it was wrong for black people to have to accept second class citizenship in their own country. Maybe the reference is to Martin Luther King Jr., who fought for the blacks in America. So the answer has to be 3 second class. Okay, remote, first class, dual, foreign, etc. are out of context. Okay, dual citizenship is different. Okay, it is like you are citizen of 2 countries. Like some of NRIs, some of the NRIs, are citizens of both India and let us say the US. That's called dual citizenship. First class, I told you. Okay, the white supremacy, white people being treated in America, for example. So 145 is 3. And we now move to 146. We say children are now a dash presence in many pubs. You know what pubs are? Okay, where liquor and alcoholic drinks etc. are also served. In many pubs, something that would have seemed unthinkable a few generations ago. So it was unthinkable a few generations ago. Like in my childhood, obviously, children being seen at a pub was unthinkable. But now the author says now. Okay, they are children are now a dash presence, which means their presence is now accepted, which means something like acceptable. Okay, an accepted presence, should be there. So thrilling means exciting, not, sensible. Sensational means controversial. Okay, doesn't make sense. Okay, because unthinkable, we are looking for opposite. Okay, so accepted is correct. Idiotic, out of context and absurd. Exciting, again the same as thrilling. So the answer for 146th question has to be 3 accepted. Okay, children are now an accepted presence in many pubs, something that would have seemed unthinkable a few generations ago. So perfect, sensible stuff. The answer is 3. 147. Last month, the US President Donald Trump accepted an unprecedented dash. Unprecedented means never before seen. Something that did not happen before. To meet Mr. Kim. Okay, so must be North Korean leader. Okay, North Korea is considered a rogue nation, right? Okay, so and they are usually inimical to the US, but this seems to be an unprecedented meeting then. So something unprecedented, something that did not happen before is happening. What is that? Last month, the US President Donald Trump accepted an unprecedented dash to meet Mr. Kim, and officials are believed to be working behind the scenes to work out the complex diplomatic requirements. So maybe Mr. Kim, extended an invitation or something like that. So the answer invitation makes sense. Unprecedented invitation to meet Mr. Kim. Okay, possible. Greeting to meet, challenge to meet, bout means a severe, period of some severe activity. Charm also doesn't make sense. So the others don't have any sensible logical connection. The only one that makes sense is invitation. So unprecedented invitation to meet Mr. Kim. So 147, the correct answer is 1. We go to 148, which says Linda Brown's life reminds us that sometimes the most unlikely people can have an incredible impact. Unlikely people means someone who is less likely to do something like that. Incredible means unbelievable. Okay, great impact, and that by dash our community we can truly change the world. So Linda Brown's life reminds us that sometimes the most unlikely, which means she was a very unlikely person to have any impact on the society. And what else does she remind us of? That by dash our community we can truly change the world. Change the world is a positive outcome, which means the word here should be something that brings about a positive outcome. So what can we do to our society to bring a positive outcome? Obviously serve. So something like serving should be the answer. By ignoring, obviously not. Forgetting doesn't make sense. Serving, possible. Okay, so 3 is possible. Joining the society, very general, doesn't make sense. Ruling, no, not at all. Ruling could be negative, right? So the answer is 3. 148, the correct answer has to be serving, okay, our community. 3 is the answer. With which we now move to 149 onwards. Another set of questions. In this question, a sentence with 4 words in bold type is given. Okay, one of these 4 words given in bold may be wrongly spelled, so misspellings. That word is your answer. Okay, If all the words given in bold are correctly spelled, okay, mark all are correct as your answer. So we're looking at what? Misspellings, okay, wrongly spelled words. So here we go. The first question says, the study's hypothesis are that the low birth rate is a result of reduction in many people's fertility. Okay, so spellings, all of the spellings seem to be correct, right? Hypothesis, birth rate, reduction in many people's fertility. So doesn't seem to be wrong. But if you consider the grammar, there is a problem. Studies dash are. Okay, now the word hypothesis, okay, is similar to words like axis, analysis, okay, or even basis, or paralysis, okay, paralysis. These are all, not original English words. They are like foreign words taken into English. Okay, their plurals are not like traditional plurals. For example, boy, the plural is boys. Okay, girl, the plural is girls. We add just s, right? But in these cases, for example, the plural of axis is not axises. It is axes. The plural of analysis is not analyses. It is analyses. You see, instead of is, we convert it into es. Axis, axes. Analysis, analyses. Basis, bases. Paralysis, paralyses. Okay, so what is the plural of hypothesis? Okay, hypotheses, SES. Now, what does this R tell us? Okay, the presence of R here clearly tells us that the noun preceding it is a plural noun. Okay, it has to be a plural noun. So the study's hypothesis is what we are supposed to have and not hypothesis. Which means grammatically the spelling is wrong. While the word itself is not misspelled, grammatically speaking, we require hypothesis and not hypothesis. Okay, the plural is required, not the singular, because singular goes with is. Okay, only the plural noun goes with are. So hypothesis is wrong, hypothesis is correct. So the correct sentence would read like this, okay, with a change. The study's hypotheses are that the low birth rate is a result of reduction. Okay, please understand, this is a little bit tricky because we don't usually use it like this. The common language, doesn't include such complicated stuff. Okay, so the plural hypothesis is correct. Similarly, we say axis, x-axis, for example. X-axis is correct. But x and y axis, his analysis is unacceptable. Their analyses are unacceptable. The basis, what is the basis? What are the bases? Okay, he suffered from paralysis. They all suffered from different types of paralyses. So I hope you got that. The plural of these nouns always goes with es in the end, not is. So is nouns always get plural es. Okay, so with that, which means the answer has to be 1. Okay, the correct answer for this question therefore is 1. Okay, 1 is the correct answer. Instead of hypothesis, it should be hypotheses. I hope it is clear, mainly because of the verb are. With that, we move to next question, 150th question, which says, one of a military commander's most difficult task is to separate soldiers, okay, who are seriously battle stressed, okay, from those who are merely maligned. Okay, maligned actually, maligned, okay, means dirtied. Okay, so you see, malign can have many meanings actually. Malign can mean, when you say bad things about a person, when you, defame a person, that is called maligning. Okay, but in this context, malign seems to be dirtying. Okay, means they are dirty, they are physically dirty. Okay, and we are also talking about seriously battle stressed. Battle stressed person is a person who has been through battle and is completely tired due to the fighting and all that. So where do we have an error? Malign doesn't seem to be an erroneous spelling. Battle stressed, no problem. Military, no problem. Separate, problem. The spelling of separate is S-E-P-A-R-A-T-E. S-E-P-A, but here you see S-E-P-E is given. So the answer has to be 2. Okay, the spelling separate is wrong. It should be separate. S-E-P-A. Okay. So we go to the next question, 151 question, which says the writer was able to offer constructive criticism. Constructive doesn't seem to be wrong. Criticism doesn't seem to be wrong. Constructive criticism is like good criticism. You are criticizing but for the benefit of the person. Okay, that's called constructive criticism. Okay, of the feminist movement without being called a misogynist. Misogynist is a person who hates a man who hates women in general. Okay, is called misogynist. Okay, misogynist is a man. Okay, it is applicable only to men. Okay, men who hate women, okay, are called misogynists. Okay, now there are also women who hate men. They are called, okay, women who hate men, okay, are called misandrists. Okay, misandrist. Okay, misandrist. Check the spelling, please. I am a little bit skeptical about the spelling. Misandrist. Okay, where andro is actually a root for man. Andros is a root for man. Okay, miss is hate. So misandrist is a lady, is a woman who hates men. Okay, so anyway, there's nothing wrong with misogynist. Okay, commonly used word. And we have something wrong with feminist actually. So, okay, constructive criticism, no problem. Misogynist, no problem. Feminist, problem. Okay, feminist, the spelling is Feminist. Feminist is a person, an activist who fights for women's rights. Okay, the fight for women's rights is often referred to as feminism. Feminism. So 151, there is no error at all. Okay, 151, the error is there in feminist 3, which means 3 is the problem. Okay, 3 is misspelled. So the correct answer is 3. The correct spelling is feminist, not feminist. So with that we go to 152. Okay, which says the tennis court is designed to be porous enough to dry thoroughly in a few hours. So the tennis court is designed to be porous, okay, enough to dry thoroughly in a few hours. Okay, so if in case of rain, it should dry out immediately is what the purpose is, which is why they make it porous. The spelling of porous is, what is porous? Something that has pores. What are pores? Pores are holes. Tiny or small, minute holes are called pores. So something that has pores, okay, is actually called porous. Okay, so saying POU, okay, doesn't makes sense. Okay, because the original word doesn't have POUR. The original word has PORE. Okay, which means something that has pores is porous, POROUS. So with that, okay, we say that the spelling is, okay, spelling error is in 3. So it should be porous, POROUS, and not the given word. So that's the wrong thing. That's the wrong spelling. With that we go to 153. Let's see what it says. Okay, the patient's emotional disturbance appeared to be quiescent. Okay, quiescent means, okay, dormant or inactive. Okay, something or somebody who is inactive, not working, not doing anything at all is called quiescent. But the psychological, so the emotional disturbance appeared to be quiescent, but the psychologist feared that it would manifest. Manifest means materialize. Manifest means materialize or, okay, appear physically itself again soon. Okay, which means the emotional disturbance of someone is as of now dormant, not active. But the psychologist feared that it might suddenly become active. It might, materialize physically. So he may, suffer at a physical level. Okay, so that's what this means. So patience. While the spelling of patience is correct, is it grammatically appropriate? What are we talking about? Are we talking about somebody's emotional disturbance, or are we talking about the emotional disturbance of patience? That doesn't make sense, right? So this spelling error is actually not a spelling error, but it's a grammatical error. So we don't need this word patience here. What do we need? We require something like patient. And because we are talking about his emotional disturbance, his or her, okay, it should be patience. So because this word is often confused with this, some people use that. So the correct word instead of patience should be patients. So the patient's emotional disturbance appeared to be quiescent, but the psychologist feared, okay, that it would manifest itself soon. So the answer has to be 1. this word patience is inappropriate grammatically. Instead of this word should be there. So I hope 153 it is clear as to what the correct answer is and why. The answer is 1 because of this word. So with that we move to the next set of questions, which says in each of the questions below, a sentence is split into 4 parts. Read the sentence and identify whether there is any grammatical error in it. The error, if any, will be in one part of the sentence. Mark the part with the error as your answer. Okay, if there is no error, okay, mark no error as your answer. Ignore the errors of punctuation, if any. Okay, so we are looking at what? Error identification, the typical, usual grammar stuff. Okay, let's look at them and answer. The first one, 154th one says, as kings in olden times had an event to celebrate, they would throw out handfuls of gold coins and jewels to peasants lining the street. Okay, so peasants lining the street actually means, if the street is like this, the peasant would be standing, this here. Okay, so the peasant would be standing here this way. So peasants lining the street would mean they are standing, okay, by the sides of the street, on the sides of the street. So there is nothing wrong with this part, peasants lining the streets. Handfuls of gold coins and jewels. Handfuls means, okay, one handful means a small quantity. Okay, something that can, fill in your hand. Okay, so there again is no error. So if you say handfuls, there is something wrong. Okay, this is wrong. Okay, so we should say handfuls, like, bucketful, or how should I say, spoonful. Okay, this spelling is also handful. No space in between spoon and full. Okay, and one single L. This refers to quantity. This refers to quantity, just like handful refers to quantity. Okay, so bucketful, the plural is bucketfuls. Spoonful, the plural is spoonfuls. Similarly, handful, the plural has to be handfuls. So again, there is no error in third part, there is no error. So fourth and third part seem to be correct. Let's look at the first 2 parts. Okay, let's look at what? The first 2 parts. Okay, which say, as the kings in olden times had an event. Okay, had an event. As actually means because, right? Does that make sense? Because kings in olden times had an event to celebrate, they would throw. Okay, so there seems to be a grammatical disconnect here. Do we really require a similar, word similar to because? Because they had, an event to celebrate, they would throw. No, that doesn't make sense. Okay, maybe we require something like when, or something that means at the time. Okay, so at the time the kings had an event, or when the kings had an event to celebrate, they would throw. Okay, so on the occasion of. So whenever they celebrated something, they would throw handfuls of gold coins to the peasants, is what this sentence intends to tell us. So because is obviously inappropriate. Because does not make any sense at all. Okay, so when I say because kings in olden times had an event to celebrate, they would throw, it doesn't have that logical connect. But when I say when kings in olden times had an event to celebrate, they would throw out handfuls of gold coins, that makes sense, right? So it should be when in place of as in part 1, which means the answer has to be part 1. Okay, so 154, the correct answer is 1, with which we move to 155. Okay, which says, the almost universal adoption of the base 10 numerical system. Okay, base 10 numerical system, you already know what it means, because you also study maths, I know that. So the almost universal adoption of the base 10 numerical system was undoubtedly influenced by the fact that humans have 10 fingers. Okay, so the author is saying that it was this base 10 numerical system was obviously clearly influenced by the fact that humans have 10 fingers. So 10 fingers means base 10 numerical system. Makes sense? Okay, since people most likely first learned to count on his fingers. So because people, counted on fingers, which we have 10 in number, okay, the author says the base 10 numerical system was influenced by that fact. Okay, so makes sense. Where is the error then? Okay, by the fact that humans, okay, which is the plural noun, have 10 fingers, since people is also plural noun, okay, most likely first learned to count on his fingers. Now when you're saying people, okay, will you say his? Okay, or should you say his or her? Or should you say their? So we have three possibilities: his or her, or their. Now you must know that his and his or her both are singular. Both are singular. Okay, we use his or her when the original subject noun is a little bit neutral. For example, okay, when I say person, for example, or when I say someone, for instance, these are singular nouns. Because the person and the someone can be both a male or a female, we usually go ahead and say his or her, okay, or he or she. For example, a person, okay, should take care of his or her belongings. Someone has forgotten his or her bag. Okay, so when I use person, someone, I can use his or her. Okay, when I use only a man, when I refer to only a man, then I should say his. When I refer to a woman or a girl, then I should say her. Okay, but here we are not talking about someone, okay, or something, or man or a woman. We are actually talking about people. People is a plural noun. Okay, for a plural noun, what do we say then? We don't say his, we say their. Okay, so the answer has to be there. So what does this say? Let me read the whole sentence. The almost universal adoption of the base 10 numerical system was undoubtedly influenced by the fact that humans have 10 fingers, since people most likely first learned to count on their fingers, not his fingers, their fingers. So people, the correct pronoun agreement has to be their and not his. Okay, I hope it makes sense. Okay, people goes with their and not his. His is obviously erroneous. His goes only with male third person singular. Male singular nouns, his. Female singular nouns, we say her. Okay, plural, male or female, their. So 155, the correct answer has to be there, which is why the answer to this question is 4. So the correct answer to 154th question is 4. With which we move to 156th question, which says, today much of the rivers are critically polluted and unfit to support biological life. So the author is basically trying to say rivers are critically polluted. Obviously, right? The Ganges and all these, rivers are greatly polluted, and therefore they are unfit to support biological life, which means all the, life similar to marine life in rivers, cannot be supported. They will die. So where's the error? The error is in the use of the word much. Much of the rivers. What do we use much for? Okay, much is used to refer to quantity, okay, or volume even, when it comes to liquids. Okay, so when we use much, obviously we are talking about quantity or uncountable nouns. Uncountable nouns. Okay, for instance, when I say, much of the water, okay, that is possible. Much of the knowledge, that's also possible. Much of the rice, much of the wheat, okay, much of the flour. So all these are uncountable nouns. We don't say rice, rices, water, waters, knowledge, knowledges, wheats, floors, etc. Okay, these are uncountable nouns. So when we refer to their quantity or some quantity referring to them, so we use much. So much can be used for only uncountable nouns. That's the point. But here rivers is not uncountable, it is countable. And the fact that we have rivers in plural itself indicates that it is countable. So because much is used only with uncountable nouns, much is not appropriate to refer to rivers. So what do? Do we change rivers to something uncountable? That doesn't make sense. Why? Because we are talking about rivers. The sentence is about rivers. They are critically polluted and therefore are unfit to support biological life. So we can't change rivers. What do we change then? We change much. So what is the countable counterpart of, much? Okay, when it comes to uncountable nouns, as I said, much is used. Okay, but instead of much, if I am referring to, instead of uncountable nouns, if I am referring to countable nouns like boys, okay, girls, or let us say, bottles or stars, what do I say? I can't say much boys, I can't say much stars, much girls, much bottles. Okay, what do I say then? Instead of much, what do I say? I say many. The countable counterpart of much is many. I hope you got that. So we say many boys, many girls, many bottles, many stars, etc. Okay, so instead of much, obviously because it is rivers, okay, we should use many here. So today many of the rivers, okay, are critically polluted and unfit to support biological life. Okay, so the correction for this question is, okay, many instead of much. So much is wrong, it should be many instead of that. Now I'm not suggesting that only many is possible. Okay, let me also convey that I'm not suggesting that the only correction is many. You can use any of the countable words are available. For example, you can also use most. Okay, you can also use all. You see, all and most can be used for both countable and uncountable nouns. Okay, so we can say today most of the rivers are critically polluted. That's also correct. We can also say today all of the rivers are critically polluted. You can also say some, for example. That's also not wrong. Some is also used for for both countable and uncountable nouns. So you can also say some. Nothing is stopping you. So I'm not saying that only possibility is many. The point that you need to understand is much is incorrect here. Okay, so we can say today many of the rivers are critically, most of the rivers are critically, all of the rivers are critically, some of the rivers are critically. And one thing I would like you to remember is these words, most, all, some, can be used for both countable and uncountable. Most of the boys, most of the water. All of the boys, all of the water. Some of the boys, some of the water. You see the point? Okay, that's anyway different point. So the answer to 156th question is 1. With which we now move to 157th question. And the question says the number of rural bank branches has come down. So when you say the number has come down, it means let us say the number of rural bank branches was originally 100. It has now come down to 50. So the number has come down. The number has reduced. Okay, of forcing the farmers to take loans at exorbitant rates. Exorbitant means very high rates from money lenders and suppliers of inputs. Inputs obviously means funds. Okay, in this case, maybe or maybe they are referring to, the sentence refers to seeds and all that, fertilizer, etc., etc. Okay, so what does this sentence mean to tell you? Okay, the number of banks have come down. Okay, and this is forcing the farmers to take loans at high rates from money lenders, etc. Okay, so in this context, do we need the preposition of here? That doesn't seem to make sense, right? The number of rural bank branches has come down of forcing the farmers. No sense at all, right? Okay, something like thereby is better. Okay, that too not necessarily a preposition, an adverb, for example. So the number of rural bank branches has come down, thereby forcing the farmers to take loans at exorbitant rates from money lenders and suppliers of inputs. So of is definitely wrong. Something like thereby would be correct. And even without any word, this is also correct. Like you don't have any word here, still makes sense. Look at this. The number of rural bank branches has come down, forcing the farmers. Directly, if you say forcing the farmers, etc., it makes perfect sense. So you don't, one possibility is no word is required. Another possibility is instead of we can use thereby. So one point to be considered in both the cases is the word of is inappropriate. So the answer has to be 2. So 157, the correct answer is 2, my dear friends, because of is inappropriate. So we go to 158th question, which again is a different model. Okay, that was 157, this is 158. For each of the questions below, a sentence is written in 4 different ways. So one single sentence is written in 4 different ways. We need to select a grammatically correct option, keeping in view meaning and usage of usage, and mark it as your answer. If none of the options is correct, mark none is correct. So typical, grammatically correct sentence question, one of the new models. So the same sentence is given in 4 different ways, and only one of them is correctly written. Okay, so let's see. One says, the next door neighbor's child knows how to say aloud all the English alphabets. Okay, now we have a problem here. Okay, what is the meaning of alphabet? Alphabet is equal to set of letters, okay, of a language. What is the meaning of alphabet? Set of letters. Okay, the set of letters of a language. For example, English alphabet is A to Z. Okay, the Hindi alphabet is something like from, A to, aha. Sorry, not aha. The last letter, whichever it is. Okay, and then similarly, the different languages have different alphabets. So this is the English alphabet. This is the Hindi alphabet. There is, let us say, Marathi alphabet. There is a Telugu alphabet. There is a Tamil alphabet. So each language has its own alphabet. Okay, so when I say alphabet, I am talking about the set of letters belonging to a language, of a language. Okay, so what should the plural alphabets mean then? So if I say alphabets, what should it mean? It should mean sets of letters belonging to different languages. So different sets, different alphabets. But here you see, this sentence says the English alphabets. Wrong. Okay, the sentence seems to say, okay, he should be able to say all the English alphabet, or better still, it should be letters, the English letters. Okay, so A, B, C, D, etc. are letters. The set is called alphabet. So we can't say alphabets like this. When you are referring to the single set of letters, it should be alphabet. Or if you want to refer to the individual letters in the alphabet, then better say letters. So we can't say alphabet like this. I hope it is clear. So 1 is wrong. 2 says the next door neighbor's child knows how to cry out all the English alphabets. Again the same error. 3 says the next door neighbor's child knows how to say aloud the entire English alphabet. This is possible. Okay, this is correct. 4 says the next door neighbor's child knows how to say aloud all the alphabets. Again an error. So alphabets is incorrect. If you are referring to the letters of one language, don't say alphabet, say alphabet or say letters. So 3 is the correct answer. 158, the correct answer is 3, with which we move to 159, which says the students who gathered in the auditorium were discussing about. No, after discuss, about is not correct. Okay, the students who gathered in the auditorium were discussing on. No, discuss is not followed by any preposition. Even discussing with is wrong. So 1, 2 and 3 are all wrong. The answer has to be 4. The students who gathered in the auditorium were discussing employment opportunities in Hyderabad. So 4 is perfect. With that we come to the last question. Okay, which says the new shoes which I bought last week are biting. Okay, shoe biting is like, shoe pinching, as although the biting is the more commonly used word. This seems to be okay. The new shoes which I bought last week are biting my toes. 2 says the new shoes which I bought last week are biting mine. No, mine toes is wrong. It should be my toes. Okay, so 2 is wrong. The new shoes which I bought last week are tweaking. Tweaking means changing, so that doesn't make sense. 4 says the new shoes which I bought last week are pinching my toes. Pinching is incorrect, as I said. The standard word used for such a thing is biting. So the answer has to be 1, with which we come to the end of the session. I hope you understood everything that I discussed. Okay, hope to see you again. All the best. Thank you very much. Goodbye.